Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Chrome for Retail Hangout on Air. Thank you for joining us today from all over the world. We have a large crowd, so it's much appreciated. My name is Sebastian Schneider, and I will be setting the stage for today's topic, helping to understand how the Chrome platform can help streamline operational efficiencies and solve very real workflow problems in the context of the retail vertical. With me today, I have Sashwat Panigai, our Senior Product Manager, who will be walking us through the specifics of our Chrome solution. The key focus of today is to really understand how Chrome can help connect sales associates and subsequently drive customer engagement through the delivery of relevant and timely content. So why retail? According to RSR research, retailers face two significant operational challenges, and I would categorize them as traditional workflow problems that essentially revolve around getting ever-changing information to highly dynamic, highly distributed workforce. In practice, that means keeping employees informed about promotional activities. You're essentially dealing with data that may be changing daily or changing hourly based on a store zip code, for instance. The other challenge is maintaining consistency of rollout processes in a high turnover environment. So this can be due to seasonality of the business, for instance. Now, through the lens of the IT department, these are arguably very complex problems, especially in a setup where multiple in-store systems don't talk to each other due to legacy architecture constraints. So rather than consolidating and rethinking workflows, some retailers are patching and adding short-term solutions to accommodate, and thus contributing to the siloed architecture environment. Now more than ever, there's a growing need to communicate with a distributed workforce. The shopper, as well as the store employee today, most of them digitally savvy millennials that basically grew up with the cloud, have both grown accustomed to an online-focused, on-demand economy experience, and thus expect a wealth of information at their fingertips to make an educated decision or an educated recommendation quickly. Now, faced with this substantial digital disruption of screens and purchasing behaviors, store-based retailers recognize they need to improve their in-store experience and really capitalize on using technology strategically. So just from a high-level perspective, what's happening today is the following. 90% of customers leave the store when they can't find the right information. So you're dealing with a customer base that has a very limited attention span due to time constraints and is thus highly results-oriented. In conjunction with that, the other phenomenon is that while inside the store, 42% of customers are doing real-time research using their smartphones. That's an experience that the store really doesn't control. So by not effectively capturing the attention of the customer, by not accurately delivering timely, contextual information, retailers are faced with a conversion problem which directly impacts their bottom line and can lead to negative retention, all the while incurring the cost of foot traffic. Now, one way to solve for that is to put technology in place to continuously educate the associate. Essentially make the associate a subject matter expert by providing relevant, demand-based information, thus digitally empowering the associate and give him or her the ability to learn on the fly. Data shows that training and communication matter, and it actually directly impacts the ability to sell. So for us, therein really lies the opportunity. We think that intelligent screens, lightweight devices can help bridge the gap and really be instrumental for the technology strategy of a retailer. Chrome is the platform to power all your screens, and we have seen great adoption with companies that start with quote-unquote one defined user and quickly realize that the Chromebook is organically expanding to fulfill multiple functions. Right? So per this illustration on the slide, we firmly believe that one screen should actually cater to multiple use cases, that a device should be repurposed in real time based on the user, based on the audience. So from staffer A logging in with their credentials to check promos, to staffer B using the same device to assist a customer in real time, to customer A picking up the device to perform a self-service product lookup in the aisle, from employee-facing to customer-facing, all this is accomplished via one screen. So to summarize, there's a massive opportunity to deliver an experience that can achieve really three key values. Employee effectiveness, so the device nearest employee becomes the device they need at that time, enabling them to focus their attention on the customer. Customer experience, self-service can seamlessly transition into employee assistance, really providing an added value beyond what e-commerce can provide today. And then lastly, but just as important, this idea around IT efficiency. So fewer devices with a higher utilization to drastically simplify management for the devices that are deployed. Now, to help us understand how we exactly do that, I'd like to now ask Sashwat to walk us through the technical background and give a more in-depth product overview. So with that, Sashwat, over to you, and thank you all.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today, and thanks Sebastian for setting this up. As Sebastian was saying, the way retail functions today is fundamentally changing both due to user behavior, as Sebastian was referring to people researching products before getting into the store, in the store, and so on. And the expectation they have of your sales associates and the amount of knowledge they have from the product is over and above the degree of research they have done prior to that. The second thing that is also changing is the security landscape is changing, and e-tailers versus retailers and combined presence is also changing the technology landscape in retail. We'll be covering some of that, but broadly, what we're talking about, let's just to focus the discussion a little bit. We absolutely need the sales associates who are on your floor to be always connected in today's world. Why? Because the customers that are walking into your store are always connected, even in the research they did before, as well as when they came in. So having always connected sales associate gives you the benefit of them being able to be completely trained in your product portfolio, being able to accomplish HR tasks easily so that most of their time is actually going into selling to customers. Check product details, whether the product is available in that particular store. In many, for example, home improvement stores, what we find is even if people do the research before going to the store, if there's an inventory mismatch between what they saw outside and when they get into the store, they are somewhat disappointed. So making sure that your associates have the precise information to be able to direct those incoming customers is critical. At the same time, when some of these devices that are on your active shop floor are not being used by your associates, there's no reason those screens should not be used for something like signage to either guide the customers for higher value offers, things to guide them to a large stores area, various or the specials that you're offering that specific day. Also, as Sebastian was saying, it doesn't mean that because you're trying to span these variety of use cases, everything from store manager to sales associate to customer sign up to signage, that you need to buy 4 devices or talk with 5 technology companies. The exact same device, because Chrome OS was designed as a cloud-first shareable OS, can switch between users with minimal interaction or zero interaction by utilizing policy. Similarly, almost every store we know of today has a backroom office that either the store manager uses or the people who are enforcing anti-theft procedures have various amounts of computing. So those involve things like managing the finances, managing the local inventory, doing orders for the store, as well as managing who are the shift workers for this week's shift versus the weekend shift, and so on. For all of those things, the store manager's device is also something critical. And once again, in this area, we have seen a tremendous success for Chromebooks in various retail organizations. So those are sort of use cases that hopefully you can all identify with if you have worked in the retail space. But let's go into a little bit of, okay, sure, so for these use cases, what are the types of form factors? Because form factors does matter in providing this versatility. So the good news with Chromebooks is we have devices starting from $85 all the way to $1,000 and everything in between in terms of price points. In terms of shape sizes, we have everything from a 11-inch convertible with a 360-degree hinge to a beautiful, one of the thinnest laptops, which is the HP Chromebook 13, as well as Dell Chromebook 13, Pixels, Chrome boxes, Chrome bits. So regardless of, and all-in-ones as well. So regardless of where you are thinking of placing your device, we have a device that suits your needs. Further, these devices work great with peripherals, and multiple monitors, and so on, depending on the use case that you're fitting for. And also, the diversity of this ecosystem proves to you how much success our OEMs partners are seeing, which is why they are building this variety of innovative devices that cover every part of the market need, as well as every user's flexibility needs. Now let's go a little bit deeper into what are the inherent properties of Chrome OS that we believe make it applicable to retail. First and foremost, security. I'm sure you all have read headlines about breaches happening. Now you may wonder how come it's so often retail that's the attack target. It's no surprise. Actually, a recent study found that more than 43% of 500 data compromises that were being studied, they were in retail. Why? Because the credit card data, the payment data that's exchanging, all of that information is monetizable by these attackers. That makes retail an very, very attractive target for them. So where does Chrome OS come here? Remember when I was telling you about devices being available from $85 all the way to $1,000? All of those, the cheapest to the most expensive, from the most affordable to the most expensive, come with a trusted platform module. We do not believe that security is a premium feature. It's present in every single Chromebook, Chromebox, Chromebit, you name it. Now you may wonder, okay, fine, what does that actual trusted platform module do? What it does is it stores safely your encryption keys, your wireless authentication keys. And the reason it's important to store these keys safely is that if somebody were to be in an open shop floor, which makes these devices more vulnerable, if somebody were to be able to steal those keys, they could impersonate the device or the user to the network and cause significant damage. By putting these keys not even in the actual hard drive, but in a trusted platform module, attacking it becomes near impossible. Also, every single application is sandboxed, so even if somebody were to compromise one application, it doesn't spread to other tabs or browsers. Finally, data is encrypted as well. Every single user's data is encrypted by separate keys, which is why your store manager, who may have slightly higher level access, can confidently share the device with a temporary employee that's working. Each of them is encrypted with a separate 256 AES key, which requires insane amount of computing resources to be able to brute force and break. And finally, one huge source of our security is being able to auto-update our OS. You know, attacks on the internet evolve hourly and daily. So if you're on an OS that hasn't been updated in 3 or 4 years, just by virtue of that, the security posture of your device has been significantly compromised. And the fact that we are able to update billions of endpoints within days in the event of an attack or as new threats emerge gives Chrome OS a huge sense of security. Now, I know when I say update, probably many of you are running scared because the painful experience you have had with what OS updates look like. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you've ever tried a Chromebook, the update actually downloads in the background and applies in under 6 seconds, which is why users don't even notice. And you can do this at the end of your workday and in a manner that doesn't disrupt any of the users. So if security is at the top of your mind, you should definitely choose an OS that still pays attackers to be able to find its vulnerabilities. We've been running the Chrome Vulnerability Reward Program for a long time. We've consistently had to increase the top reward because it was not claimed. So today it's at $100,000 to be able to expose any vulnerability here. So we talked about security and why retail, which is a very attractive target for attackers, is a great place where Chrome OS should be adopted. Now let's talk about speed. As you guys know, even from the beginning days of the browser, the Chrome browser, our primary mission was to provide a fast gateway to the browser. And we've stayed true to that mission with Chrome OS. Now, definitely people love being able to get their stuff done as fast as they can. But why does it specifically matter to retail? In retail, let's say you are in the refrigerator sales section of your store. There are multiple associates that are coming in and passing by. Each probably is logging into a particular application to help a particular client through a sale. At the end of the day, they're probably entering their timesheet. Now, what happens typically is that if the boot up procedure takes very long, or if logging in or logging out takes very long in traditional OS, people solve this problem by doing something that's convenient and essential to help their customers, but extremely insecure. Let me give you an example. So what would typically happen in a refrigerator sales section or appliance sales section of such a store? Because the associates find that logging in, logging out is so cumbersome, what they would do is leave the device in a local administrator mode. All of the associates and the visitors and any potential attackers would have open access to the same device in administrator mode, which is connected to your network. If you ask any security expert, this is a very painful situation to be in. So we tried to solve that. We tried to solve the issue of why login should be so cumbersome. So today, Chromebooks logins and logouts can be achieved within 6 seconds. Your store associate could walk out. You could have a policy that logs that user out immediately as soon as they go away, and the new user can log in under 6 seconds. Now think about this. So you have suddenly made it faster actually. Because in the past, what would happen is even if the device was in local administrator mode, each of the apps still needed logging into because you needed to give these sales associate their commission based on their individual sales. So in the past, they were logging it individually into 7 or 8 apps, leaving the device in local administrator mode, keeping things less secure. Now, due to the speed, security, and shareability of Chrome OS, they're able to do it in a fast manner still serve their customers, not leave their customer hanging while the device is rebooting or logging in, but yet do that in a safe manner. And I think that's just one of the examples where security, speed, and shareability combine together to make it a great fit for retail. And of course, each of these associates' data is encrypted by a separate key. So there is no way, across the board attack can happen, or one malicious employee can hurt the other malicious employee's data, and so on. And as you have seen from our success in education, the interface itself of Chrome OS is very, very simple. That's why kids have been able to use it out of the bat. And the employees that you are getting in, the ones that Sebastian was talking about with, seasonal workers, temp employees, typically these are people who have been born and brought up in the cloud-first world. So they will find themselves right at home in the Chrome OS UI. Let's talk a little bit about the Chrome Management Console. Now, as we were discussing earlier, the OS itself has been built first and foremost as a cloud-first OS. Now, the fact that it's cloud-first implies that every setting on it can be managed from the cloud. This is what makes it a great fit for retail as well, because retail by definition is highly distributed. No globally distributed or even nationally distributed retail chain can afford sending an IT manager to every single store if something were to go wrong. And the tech talent available in each individual store may be small. And further, IT spending trends are not exactly climbing up heavily into the management of devices. So what Chrome OS provides is your ability to manage over 220 policies. Every user setting, every device setting, kiosking settings for putting them in signage in stores, device-specific settings, and network-specific settings. We were talking to one retail chain in Germany, and this particular retail chain was present in every single major town and village in Germany, and they had a single central IT staff to save costs. But yet what they were able to do is pre-configure all of the devices before sending it out to the sites, and all the local retail outlets had to do power on the device, and they were good to go. Their networks, their certificates, their identities were all pre-configured. Which apps they were allowed to use, which apps they were not allowed to use were pre-configured. Which URLs they are allowed to visit and in which mode they were pre-configured. And this was different by store manager versus seasonal worker versus shift worker. So all of this can be controlled at a highly granular level in a tree-based OU structure where different sets of policies apply to different users. Studies have suggested that this ability to manage everything from the cloud, every single aspect of the device and the user from the cloud, reduces the overall maintenance cost by over 60%, and the deployment costs sometimes by over 90%. Now, why is this important? Because the role of IT in retail now should be how to strategically position the information systems in the retailer to the type of world Sebastian was talking about, where users are constantly researching products and prices coming in. They should not be wasting time knowing when to patch a particular antivirus, when to patch a particular app. That's what we were doing 10, 15 years ago, guys. And that's should not be the primary focus. we should be able to, the device itself and the way it has been built, the way it's managed from the cloud should be able to take care of that for you. And I think that has been the philosophy behind Chrome OS. So enrollment is very, very easy. It can be done, it doesn't have to be done in the store. It can be done white glove by one of our partners. It can be done at your central IT store before it's even shipped. All the policies can be pre-configured, and your store associate or your store manager only has to power on the device. And here, what you're seeing on the slide is a few integrators that you can partner with to get you started on this journey. Now, definitely, as you're beginning this transformation or journey, you still have a number of applications and infrastructure that was written prior. We work with all of these existing infrastructure providers. Let me quote just a few examples. Let's take identity as an example. Many of our retail partners use Active Directory. They may be using Okta, Ping Identity, SecureAuth. All of these identity providers, over 12 of them, are supported by Chrome OS. You can, again, pre-configure all of this using the Chrome Management Console. We already have millions of devices using this identity infrastructure. So whatever identity infrastructure you have, we can integrate with it. Let's talk store Wi-Fi. We have met retailers who within a single store sometimes have 2 or 3 Wi-Fi networks. Some are for their guests. Let's say you're a cafe. You provide a certain Wi-Fi network for your guests. That has to be kept separate from the network that you're using for payments. That has to be kept separate from the network that you're using for your store associates and your store managers. We are able to support all 3 of them. And Chrome OS is intelligent enough when it's in a certain mode to upgrade to the most secure network. So this certificate distribution is a major challenge in retail. IT managers in retail want to benefit from the additional security that comes from certificates, but distributing certificates in a highly distributed retail map in a nation is very hard. We believe we have solved that problem. We can integrate with Active Directory certificate services and also with specialized providers such as CloudPath and Aruba networks. And through a few clicks of a button, we can provide you certs that are actually the private keys backed by the trusted platform module, making it one of the most secure solutions. So this is hardware-backed certs, guys. So stealing this would be excruciatingly hard. And all this security doesn't come at a cost to the user experience. Users can still connect pretty easily and automatically because you have been able to configure all of this from the management console. So I've gave you 2 examples with identity and certificates, but we also integrate with the top major VPN providers. We integrate with the major virtualization providers, all of whom have launched many new features across VMware, Citrix, Amazon Workspaces, and so on. And finally, we work well with file systems in your organization as well. So some of you may have Windows file share, some of you may be trying out Google Apps for Work, Box, Dropbox. We provide a native offline syncing experience with all of these. Those are just some of the examples of the infrastructure integrations we have made easy for you. Definitely, if you have questions on any specific one, we will answer them at the end of the Hangout. A few other points. Some of our partners wanted easy solution to be able to use multiple monitors, especially store managers or in the head office. So Chromebooks do support multiple monitors. In this slide, you're seeing 2, but we can support 3 or 4. Some of our retail banking customers have used even more than 4 monitors. And for example, the HP Chromebook 13 is powerful enough to drive these. Also now there's a great selection of docking stations. For example, the one you're seeing on this slide right now, it's a very thin, very portable USB-C docking station. And through that one cable that's going into the Chromebook that you're seeing, you can drive power, the charging of the Chromebook. You can drive external displays. You can drive networking. And these devices, even if the store manager is running around the store seeing how his associates are doing, or her associates are doing, you have 11.5 hours of battery life, 12 hours of battery life for some models. So your entire day, you never have to worry about charging even. So hopefully what you're seeing is the versatility around in terms of peripherals use cases is just increasing. And by the way, the HP Chromebook 13 is a first in many ways. It has audio by B&O. It has a beautiful backlit keyboard, amazing design, and still for an affordable price. Now let's switch gears from infrastructure and devices to apps and content. Clearly, many retailers have already gone the way of Google Apps. So with Google Apps, you get one full suite of solutions, everything from unlimited drive storage to using Gmail. Remember when Sebastian was talking about how critical it is for retailers with changing employee bases to keep the employees trained and feel connected to the head office and the overall strategy. Google Apps, whose foundation was collaboration, being able to edit docs quickly, being able to send each other chat messages, being able to send each other email at a very affordable cost, all in the cloud, is a great something that resonates great with retailers. Calendars similarly, and internal social network using Google Plus, Docs, Drives, Sheets, and even sites for regions, retail outlets, or for the overall national layout. So all of these apps work beautifully on a Chromebook because all of these designers use Chromebooks. The people who design these products use Chromebooks as well. So I think if you are in this world, you would feel very familiar within the Chromebooks as well. However, we did not stop there. What you're seeing on the slide is Citrix receiver and how this Citrix receiver has evolved over the quarters. Why did we do this? Because we know that even if retailers are in a journey to the cloud, many of them do have Windows applications that they are virtualizing today. By the way, most of the large retailers that we have met recently, they already have a Citrix solution or they already have a VMware solution. Why? Because even with their existing OSs, it was becoming just unmanageable to maintain thick applications on these traditional OSs. So oftentimes, Citrix or other virtualization solutions are that stepping stone in the journey to the cloud. And we covered earlier why that journey to the cloud is almost inevitability, given how offline sales, website sales, local store inventory, and consumer research is coming together. So now, how is the Citrix experience? Whenever you say virtualization, you always have to worry, are my employees going to suffer from the fact, either the performance not being up to the mark or the UX being non-intuitive. So what I'm seeing you on the slide is just a few examples of how our collaboration with Citrix has worked. So over the last few years, every single quarter, the Citrix team has launched new features on Chromebooks specifically. So a few examples, what you can see is we now use hardware acceleration for decoding of video and audio. Encode also is hardware accelerated. Now, why am I harping on hardware acceleration? What this means is that even if you've bought an affordable Chromebook, the chipset likely supports hardware encoding and decoding, which means that the video quality will surprise you even if the device that you have bought is in the affordable range and not a $1,000 device. Similarly, what you're seeing on the screen in the image, every single virtualized Windows app is now appearing in its own window. Now, why is this important? Because this gives a near native feel to your employees, and they don't even see as if the OS beneath has changed. So seamless apps is a recent feature, and you guys should definitely try out. And there are many, many other features that I'm skipping over here that we have done to make your employees' lives easier. For example, remember that 6-second logout and login I was talking about? Once your user logs in, now we have worked with Citrix to make sure that you're automatically logged into Citrix and even to the Windows apps. So in the past, you were leaving the local OS in administrator mode, and then each app was being logged into. What we are now providing, you log once into the device, switching login is less than 6 seconds, and then automatically you're logged into every single app. And so these are just some of the improvements we have done with Citrix, and if you are a Citrix customer, you should be able to try this out immediately. We also have options from VMware Horizon, Dell vWorkspace, and Amazon Workspaces. For example, Dell vWorkspace, in that single sort of blade server that you're seeing on the image, you can power over 350 users. So that's a very easy way to get set up and try it out in a couple of your outlets. Amazon Workspaces is a solution all in the cloud. So if you don't want to have any on-prem setup, you can try out Amazon Workspaces as well. Also, I would like to, in case you missed this, at Google I/O we announced Android apps coming to Chrome OS. That is a huge effort that we have undertaken, and we are trying to make sure that all Android apps with minimal effort can run well on Chrome OS. We are already in a dev and beta channels, and multiple customers are trying this out already and are ecstatic about it. Now, why is this so powerful for retail again? Of course, there's the element of the general productivity apps that your employees use. All of those are coming to Chrome OS now. That's one natural upside. But think about the apps that you're writing today, even just now. If almost every retailer is writing some sort of an Android app today, for example, to power the Android tablets or phones that your store associates may be carrying around, either to check inventory or to scan barcodes to update the inventory, or to carry around in their arms when there's a customer asking them where a particular product is stocked in the market. Now, in the past, what you would have to do is write that Android app, potentially an iOS app if you have some of those, and then think about how are you going to bring this to the desktop and keep all of this in sync. What we're telling you now is you don't have to do that. That same Android app that you've already written or already have contracted is going to work on Chrome OS. So let me go on a limb here and get out of my presentation and just show you some of that working, right? So here, what you're seeing is Skype on my running on my Chromebook. This is a regular Chromebook. Word running on my Chromebook. So all of this available right now, and you can try it out right now. So I just thought instead of showing you the slide, I actually show you the product itself. And all of this, by the way, the fact these Android apps are managed through the cloud, through the same management console, you can try it out in a store-by-store basis. Who has access to these Android apps? Who doesn't? Which Android apps are force installed versus user option to install? All of this is controlled through the same device. Through the same management console, sorry. So hopefully that gave you an overview of why it's a great fit to invest in this OS. It can power a variety of your use cases, from store manager to sales associate operations to training to HR tasks to ease up employee signups. So now let's take a few examples of how retail customers are using this today. Big Lots is an example, and Sebastian knows a lot about this. He worked on this one himself. So, in Big Lots, when customers would be interested in a big ticket item purchase, oftentimes the store itself offers some sort of financing. Now, filling out this financing in the past would be a pretty painful task, taking a piece of paper, writing in everyone's individual handwriting, and some of our handwriting is better than others. Or, one customer dictating it out for an employee to fill out. Very, very slow and very inefficient process. What Big Lots was able to do is provide a Chromebook which is available to its customers, and they can just come up to the Chromebook and fill in this application. This is what made it a very, very smooth process, and they can also use this Chromebook for other purposes. Woolworths is another example. It's a very large retailer in Australia, and they had many, many dated systems, and now they have 10,000 plus staff utilizing Chrome OS and Chromebooks today. They're also a Google Apps customer, so the combination of collaboration and Chromebooks that we were talking about earlier, this is a perfect example of it. And again, there's a variety of use cases they're doing here. Everything from back office to the head office operations down to the store operations as well. And one final recent example I'll talk to you about is Charles Schwab. In its retail branches, as a banking customer, they have rolled out 1,700 Chromebooks and able to manage these devices centrally. And also their incoming customers are able to get, for potential clients, they are able to get up-to-date information and fill in information data as well. And you can imagine if a bank trusts it for its retail operations, you as a retail customer definitely can trust its security as well. There are many, many other retail customers, but why don't I pause here and go over to some questions. So one of the questions that was submitted is, how easy is it to switch a device from an employee workstation over to kiosk mode? For example, when our sales team is not, let's say, filling any HR tasks and instead interacting with a customer. Exceptionally easy, actually, guys. And we can actually show you guys a demo. So you can, as an administrator, pre-configure, first of all, which associates can log in if you want to control that, and further configure which kiosk apps are available. So let's say there's this is a device in the appliance section. You can make the appliance apps available as a kiosk app, and all the user will have to do is hit sign out, and even that can be sort of automated with a policy for after a certain period of time signing out. And then on the login screen itself, there will be an app that the user can just click, and you're straight into the kiosk app. So it's exceptionally easy. In fact, being able to use the same device across kiosks, public sessions, signed-in users, all controlled by the cloud, is one of the major value propositions here. Another question is that we received is, some of our sales associates already have some tablets. How can Chromebooks fit in that environment? Great question. In fact, that's where the Android apps coming to Chromebooks fits in very nicely. Part of the reason people are giving their sales associates Android tablets or phones is they realize that sometimes associates need to walk around with their customers to different sections. The good news is, let's say you are helping somebody build a kitchen. You can be on your laptop on the same app, or on your all-in-one desktop on the same app, same Android app, configuring the kitchen, and then seamlessly take your Android phone or tablet, walk over to the aisle where that material is actually stocked, so that your customer can buy them. So hopefully that gives you a visual image of how operations can shift between a desktop or a laptop and a tablet or a phone. And the great thing here is, now with Android apps coming to Chrome OS, you don't have to rewrite that app. That exact same app will work across the board. So hopefully that gave you guys an overview of how Chromebooks can fit in your organization, folks. And we would love to discuss further with you. Please reach out to your Google rep or your partner rep. And thank you very much for joining us today.